Hey, what's up? It's Pika calling in from Singapore. It is Friday night. Yeah, I just finished eating because it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I have nothing better to do than study and eat. um, yeah. So, Friday night, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm eating at home and studying. This is my existence at the moment, which I have no problem with. I'm not complaining at all. I got big things coming down the pike and I need to be ready for them. I need to be prepared. We talked about luck yesterday, right? Actually, it was because it was episode 88, and I see 88 a lot. And it's a Chinese thing where 88 is like a, a good luck number or whatever. Anyway, today is episode 89, and let me run through what my day looked like today. Work as usual, obviously. We had an interview this afternoon. I had a lot of little things that I needed to get done. We are looking at a couple of businesses that we're trying to help out, see if we're a good fit for them, they're a good fit for us, trying to make sure that we expand in the best possible way. Trying to scale at the moment is quite the undertaking. So we have our interests spread out a little bit, which is good for us because we're getting ready to close out this school year, getting ready for the new school year, so we need to be ready with some new options and stuff. So I think that's a really great thing that we are doing. As far as the interview was good. Closed out the rest of the day. I had lots of transcription, like I told you, just basically transferring from hard copy to soft copy because we don't have anything on soft copy. So I'm trying to do that as well, which I actually love. I love being able to listen to my lectures from my Robbins Madonna's training. While I do this, busy work basically, it actually works out really well for me. So I'm able to transcribe all of the data from the worksheets back onto, soft copy as in Word document. So it's actually really easy for me. I could do that all day long. It's basically what I did the first 4 weeks that I was with Lumber Liquidators. I was a data analyst. And I had piles and piles and piles and piles of paper of samples, production, numbers, stuff like that. And basically all I did, and because it's mundane, right, so you get sleepy, I was actually watching Bones in one corner of my screen while I did all of that data analysis. So it was actually kind of cool. But yeah, I've learned a multitask like that. Crazy, right? All right, so finished up work, came back home, had to cook dinner. And I didn't feel like cooking. I was really tired. And then Gayatri was like, I'm really hungry. I'm really hungry, really hungry. So I had to rush it. So I did what I do best. Something simple, but very filling and very nutritious. So we did keto, which is spinach, with parapu, which is called dal, and good source of protein, lots of green leafy vegetables, and rice. And then I fried an egg so that, we have a little more protein on top of that too. So we ate dinner, and then I put her to sleep. And then I actually had a coaching call tonight. I am, as you know, a regional vice president for Crown for Success. So I had a colleague of mine who needed to do a coaching call, like a mock coaching call, to get the hang of how to speak to people, what to speak to them about, how to kind of, manage your expectations as to what would happen if they were to hire them on as a full-time coach, and what the packages are like, how to present basically yourself as a coach to a potential client. So that was kind of cool. The funny thing is she lives in Hong Kong, and the more we spoke, the more we found out we had in common. Man, it was uncanny. But it's one of those, universe things where they deliver to you the right people at the right time to kind of give you the idea that, you're doing the right thing. It kind of reinforces what you've been thinking or helps you think along a new path. So for me, it was reinforcing what I was thinking. I am in the right place at the right time, doing the right things. So I'm very excited about that. So the coaching call actually ended up taking 2 hours, which was totally cool. I didn't even notice it, but it was cool that we could actually spend 2 hours talking like that. And if I think about it, a lot of my my conversations lately have been very, very long conversations. I have been talking to my aunt. I've gotten back in touch with my aunt. It was something I did back when I was talking to Rashandan over in Sri Lanka. She went through the floods that hit Texas. She was affected, unfortunately. And it just so happens that when she kind of was reintroduced back into my life as a more consistent figure, someone I talk to every day now, I actually talk to her twice a day. talking to her kind of helps me ground myself, and it's kind of sweet to be able to talk to her and get to know how she felt about, my uncle and the kind of relationship they had. And the more I hear about, the kind of love that they had, the kind of marriage that they have, the more I kind of like ache for that kind of a relationship, that kind of a connection too. So it's kind of cool. um I have no idea what that noise is. That's so strange. Alrighty then, that was totally random. I don't know what that was, if it was an alarm or what, but whatever, it's done now. Yeah, so it's actually really cool that I get to talk to her about, how things were back in the day when she first got married, and the expectations of an Indian family when you get register married first, and then you have like the big temple wedding or whatever, and there's usually some significant amount of time in between the registration and the actual wedding. So what she was and wasn't allowed to do, how she was and wasn't allowed to behave, the kinds of interactions they were allowed before they actually physically got, like the tie the tali and all that stuff. So it's actually really cool. I get to talk to her about all that stuff, and she gets to reminisce, remember him, and kind of work through her grief a little bit. It's been 5 years since he passed, but I get the impression that she hasn't had the chance to really talk about these things. So I'm actually really excited that I get to help her go through those memories, and kind of get to know my uncle and my aunt from a different point of view. The cool thing about this particular aunt, her nickname was Rasati, and she's the one who gave me my nickname as Rasati. So that's what this whole brand is about. I love who I am. I love who she is, and actually we're very, very much alike. We are people. I love entertaining. I love having people over. I love having my house full of people. On the same token, I do love my quiet time where I can kind of re-energize and get my energies back to normal. But I do love people. It means a lot to me to be able to have, people around, to be able to connect with people, to share stories, to learn from them. It's actually really cool to me. What I really want to talk to you today about, though, is learned behaviors. What I'm noticing a lot with all of my conversations, I'm actually connecting again with my cousin out in Monash University in Australia. She's been a rock. She's been so cool. She's been out there by herself for a little while now, and she's finding her way, and she's growing up, you guys, and I'm not ready for her to grow up so fast, but that's cool. I love you, Shah, wherever you are. Hopefully you're sleeping, woman. Anyway, I really enjoyed all of these conversations, and the fact that I'm not physically in front of these people, but I get to hear what they're talking about. It's not like a text conversation. I gotta tell you, I hate texting. I would so much rather hear someone's voice. I can tell so much more about who you are, what you feel, how you're feeling, than I can over text. But yeah, I want to talk to you about learned behaviors. What I'm noticing is, as I talk to these people, I am getting back in touch with my emotions, like my gut reactions to everything. As I was growing up, it seemed like for me to show excitement or show certain emotions, I would get in trouble, or I would get disappointed very easily. So I tried really hard. I kind of learned not to reveal whatever it was that I was feeling, not to be overt about, how I react to whatever was going on. So things like being excited about something, people can tell me, okay, this is going to happen, and I'm going to go do this, and I'm thinking, wow, that's really cool. And in my mind, I'm saying, yes, that's awesome, yes. But what comes out of my face is actually resting bitch face for the most part. I don't show emotion that much. It would take a special kind of somebody to actually pull that emotion out of me. My brother and I will fight like cats and dogs. I can show him my emotions. I can show him my temper tantrums. I can show him whatever. And I know he's not going to walk away. Whereas with everybody else, is a little more guarded. I am afraid to feel the way I want to feel, because I don't know if you're going to like how I react to things or not. I'm getting over it little by little, but obviously it's a learned behavior. I was actually thinking about this with regard to my daughter. So when she gets excited, she her face contorts, she becomes very comical, she gets very goofy, she starts to dance. If she enjoys her food, she will dance. She will stand while she's eating and start dancing. She's just snap her neck a little bit, tap her foot a little bit. If she's really, really happy, she will step away from the table and actually dance. So I love that about her. And like I said, she is the inspiration for pretty much everything I'm doing at the moment. For me to hear the way she responds to things, for me to see how she reacts to, life in general, it really makes a difference to me, because I kind of wish that I could go back to being that true, uninhibited version of me where I don't care if I show people that I'm excited or not. I don't care if um, I don't care if they know that I'm upset. I don't have to worry about people's feelings. I don't have to mind my P's and Q's. I don't actually enjoy doing that. But yeah, for the most part, I just feel like I kind of have to censor myself a lot just so that I don't come across as rude, crude, and socially unattractive, as Miss Mason used to say. Um, in that regard, if I were to see I don't know, the love of my life for the first time or something, I would expect myself to be able to jump for joy or jaw drop or, oh my God, start crying or something. I don't know if I could, I don't know if I'm capable of that kind of emotion in public. I do know that I use movies a lot to be able to cry. Like a lot of times I can't even cry. That's how emotionally constipated I can be sometimes. Um, yeah, so it's, a lot of it is learned. I'm trying really hard to unlearn a lot of these things because I think it's important for people to connect again. As it is with, all of this blue light and digitalness that we've gotten into, we don't connect the way we used to. A lot of times you get stupid things like, let's see. Okay, let's take Instagram for example. If you post something and you happen to look good in the picture or whatever, you suddenly get a bunch of DMs from a bunch of random ass people talking about, hey, you look good, you're awesome, can I do this, can I do that? And I'm thinking, why? So my gut reaction obviously is to block people, right? But then I get people who are a little more slick. They've been through this before, so they kind of do stuff like, oh yeah, I think you're really great, whatever, blah blah blah. No need to block me, just asking a question. And then they get really needy. If you don't answer right away or whatever, they're like, oh, what, you don't like me, you want to talk to me? Block on that as well. So people have forgotten what it's like to actually court someone, to actually talk to someone, to actually get to know people without being sleazy and disgusting. So it's all learned behavior. And I feel like we've lost the point of conversation, the art of conversation. We've lost how to really connect with each other. We take 2 and 3 minute silences as being ignored. That ain't being ignored. And a lot of people, there are memes out there talking about, if I wanted to wait for a reply, I would have snail mailed you. Come on. Can you imagine what would happen if you went back to snail mail right now? Every one of y'all would pass out and commit suicide. You'd be like, oh my God, they don't love me anymore. It's not that serious, you guys. I mean, granted, it's hard, and granted, y'all have no idea what it's like to have a corded phone be the only form of communication you have with whoever you're trying to talk to have to buy calling cards to be able to call a different country because you didn't have Skype, you didn't have WhatsApp, you didn't have Facebook Messenger and all this other nonsense. Y'all have no idea. Y'all have no idea what it means to wait. And unfortunately, yes, I am a patient person. Kind of. I don't like being patient, but yeah, I can be. I remember what it was like to do all those things. But again, it's all learned behavior. You obviously didn't venture outside of your town way back when to find a mate. You normally stayed within your lane. You hung out in the same circles that were your social class or whatever, or your town or your state, whatever it was, or your school, wherever those people matriculated around you or whatever. But you have people over here that meet people from another country online, fall in love, and meet each other and stuff like that. So it's everything has changed a lot. But from an emotional standpoint, it's changed our emotion as well. It's like we've numbed ourselves to what real emotions are. And for the most part, because it's numbed like that, you kind of have children who don't know how to manage their emotions. They don't know how to feel. They don't know it's okay to feel. They don't know what happens when these strong emotions kind of take over for a moment. They don't have any coping strategies, and I kind of feel sorry for them. We learned the hard way, obviously, and it was yeah, bullying was not okay back then either, but it was part of life. You kind of got over it. Even the bullies had to get over it at some point, because at some point they would move on. They would no longer be the biggest fish in that particular pond. They would start at the bottom rung again, and they'd have to fend for themselves. They'd have to figure it out for themselves. Just so many things have changed, and I kind of feel sorry for humanity as a whole, because it's like we've all forgotten how to feel. That it's okay to feel, that it's kind of necessary to feel. The young lady I was talking to just now for the coaching call, she's actually based in Hong Kong. And Mickey, she's an amazing, amazing woman. And we were talking about emotions, and I told her, you know what? It's always good to kind of do an emotional inventory. just take a look at, on an average day, what kind of emotions do you go through? And I know, fellas, y'all go through every damn emotion in one day, and we just go through happiness and maybe a little crankiness because we're hungry. I understand that. I've seen that meme too. But you need to ask yourself why. Why is it we're capable of feeling a whole range of human emotions in one day, whereas you all don't? And maybe it's just that you're wired differently. It's cool too. There's nothing wrong with that. But I kind of feel like when we do go through all those emotions, we need to kind of take a step back and look at why. What is it that's triggering us? What is it that's like pissing us off to the point that we get super angry and then like 10 minutes later we're kind of like over it? It's all learned behavior. And I don't know, excuse me, I don't profess to know why everything happens the way it is, but I've been observing long enough to know that it does happen. There's always a reason. Your gut reaction to stuff is real. It's right. And there are normally two reasons for it. It's either something the other person has done has triggered you because there is a sense of danger there, or you're seeing a parallel to a situation you've lived through before that was not so comfortable. So you draw a parallel and you're like, oh my God, I don't feel good about this, or, I'm super excited. I've seen this before. I know what's going to happen next. So it's just all learned behavior. Everything is learned. It's kind of fascinating on one hand and kind of frustrating on the other, because there's no real way to kind of explain away why we feel the way we do. There's no real way to kind of keep our energy at a certain level because we believe that things should happen, or we're trying to manifest things into happening. And that's why I want to talk to you about this learned behavior. The emotions that we go through are natural, right? We're meant to feel them. I live through this, and this, and that's why when this happens, I react this way. That's basically what it comes down to. But when you're looking at the law of attraction, it's almost like, yeah, you feel all those things, but you cannot dwell on them too long. So it's like another level of learning behavior. I need to focus on what I do have instead of what I don't have. I need to focus on how I would feel if I got what I wanted rather than how I feel right now because I haven't gotten there yet. So it's a lot more about feelings, and I think as the world kind of slowly wakes up, excuse me, out of this zombified matrix-like existence, as we slowly awaken, as we slowly start to like notice things around us, I think it's really important that we pay attention to our inner guidance system, which is our feelings. There's a reason we get offended. There's a reason we get irritated. There's a reason that we get fearful of, certain situations. There is a reason why we really feel danger, and like either we want to attack first as an alpha, or we want to shrink away and disappear like we were never there in the first place. So, all of these things are really, really important to me as I make my journey through this coaching, this coaching career that I'm trying to create. And it's interesting to see the different ways that, people have evolved, people have adapted certain behaviors and certain traits in order to protect themselves. Like, a lot of times if you were to sit there and talk to people, you can tell, like, who the loudest one in the room is. And a lot of times, depending on what they're loud about and how they're going about their day, what the people around them are doing, how they feel about this person, you can tell or guess what makes them loud or why they're getting loud. If they're the kind of person who has to be the center of attention, needs lots of recognition, like we would say, some guests are handled with care, needs lots of recognition. They need to feel like royalty, basically. They need you to, like, take their luggage out the car before they even step out the damn taxi. They need to make sure that you know who they are on site, know their name and everything about them, like the reservation, how long they're going to be here, what room they're assigned to, like all these things. Like, some people are like that, and then there are some people who are really, really quiet, hoping you don't see them. They kind of hang in the background as a wallflower, and they're happy doing that. Not for any other reason than, they're sensitive to energy and they don't want to engage with anyone if they don't have to. They just want to observe. They just want to be there as part of the situation. So yeah, super interesting concept. I'm pretty sure I could talk on and on and on about that, but it's something that I've been pondering a lot lately. Mostly because I myself am seeking answers to how to proceed forward, what I should do next, taking inventory of where I am with my business at the moment, trying to figure out what the best way to be would, to push my business forward, and then to ask for help. That's like the hardest thing for me to like stop and ask for help and wait for you to respond. That's really difficult for me, because I feel like in this day and age, people don't really take those those kinds of interactions seriously. They kind of like, oh, I'm big now and you're small, so that's why you're asking me for help. It's not even like that. A lot of times it's because you may have done it one way and I'm about to do it a different way. I kind of want to know what your experience was so I can learn from that. It's not normally for a leg up. It's normally for like just information, just how are you, what's going on, how did you manage to do this. I mean, I had Vanessa call me the other day and she was like, yo, didn't you mention you went to a JT Fox something? I was like, yeah, I went. And she's like, well, what do you think about that? And I was like, well, you know what, yeah, he talks a good game. He seems like he knows what he's doing, but the way he goes about doing it doesn't jive with who I am as a person. So I'm not about to go spend like $10,000-$15,000 to go get a picture with Al Pacino and just to be able to put that picture up and, build a business off of that, because at some point I'm gonna have to go spend another 10-15,000 to get some other celebrity's face up, just to keep the momentum going with my business, and that's not the kind of business I want to run. So asking for help is not a bad thing. It's just being able to be humble enough to go ask, being able to overcome whatever learned behaviors you have to be able to go ask, to know who to go ask, to trust what they say, to, there's so much stuff that goes into that. So with learned behaviors, the root cause of that behavior is the most important part. Not the knee-jerk reaction, but the root cause of it. I feel like a lot of times we treat symptoms as a doctor, nowadays you go to the doctor. If I go to the doctor right now and say I have a fever, I can make up a bunch of stuff and I could tell him. And he'll check a couple things and he'll be like, all right, well, here's a medicine for this symptom, and here's a medicine for that symptom, and here's a medicine for the third symptom, and call me in a week. And I kind of feel like that's not as effective as it could be if you were to go look at the root cause. What is it that's causing this? Obviously, they don't want to spend a bunch of money and do tests, but sometimes it's the best way to do it. So when you look at your emotions, you look at your learned behaviors, I want to challenge you to actually look at the root cause. Try and figure out where it is that's coming from. Is it a learned behavior because you were in danger once before and you're learning to avoid it when you recognize certain symptoms? Or are you just, don't feel good about going to work, so you get nauseous and you're trying to figure out what it is about that work that you don't enjoy so much so that you can maybe change that or find another job that might not have that same situation. Just so much to consider, and definitely a subject that I'm very, very interested in. But for now, I'm going to leave it at this rant, and if you have questions or comments, please put them below so that I can, have a conversation with you guys. I'd love to talk more about this particular subject. So for now, I'm going to call it a night because it is now 2:15, and I think one eye is pretty much closed. The other one's on the way out. So I'll catch you all tomorrow, okay? Take care. Bye.